Hello everyone. This was not exactly how this was planned to go, but we're all about flexibility here. So Nick, I want to thank you when you were not able to join us in person for being willing to join us via Zoom. How are you?
Yeah, good. And my apologies to everybody for not being present. Consequences, are what they are, and
yes,
I'm happy to join you anyway.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you. I want to also say that at the end, this is a complex topic. At the end, toward the end of the session, we are going to put up a slide with a QR code that you can scan with your phone that has a whole list of resources primarily provided by Nick if you want to learn more about the topics of self-sovereign identity and decentralized digital identity. So get ready for that toward the end. And I want to start actually with a question for the audience. I assume that most of you have heard of these topics, but I'm wondering by a show of hands if you can just give me a sense of how many have moved beyond awareness to actually exploration or any work related to SSI and decentralized digital identity. Anyone doing anything in that realm? Okay, well, Nick, I'll tell you, since you can't see them, I don't see any hands, I don't think. So you'll have a lot that you can help us understand on this topic, for sure. He's going to be sharing certainly some concrete ideas about what this can mean for the travel industry. And Nick, just to give you a sense, if you were here, I think you would know that we have people here from every sector of travel. We have suppliers, we have online travel agencies, startups. So maybe if you can just start by explaining why should this audience care about SSI and decentralized digital identity?
Okay, very important question, very profound answer. Because decentralized digital identity and the self-sovereignty over identity that this technology enables is the most consequential technology of a generation. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's go back to other consequential technologies and frame SSI, decentralized digital ID, that way. First one I'll pick, two protocols, TCP and IP. You will have heard of them, no doubt. They're the underlying protocols that made the internet possible. Moving on a decade, another protocol, HTTP. What did that enable? It enabled browsers, it enabled e-commerce. It enabled, effectively, B2C commerce. Moving on, a little further this time, around about 2005, popular GSM, which enabled mobile telecommunication en masse, and the popularization of that with the iPhone in 2007, which did use GSM in its first iteration. That enabled the smartphone revolution, further enhancing B2C commerce opportunity. Decentralized digital ID and SSI is the fourth one. Okay. It's started in early tech development around about 5 years ago. It is still in core tech development, but it will be equally as profound as any of those previous three. All of these four are collaborative efforts that we today call open source. All of them are core technology developments. And the last thing, because this particular technology enables something that is really profound and important for travel and for any kind of commerce, because it enables us to finally say, this is me, this is who I am, and this is what I want, and to do that digitally.
Okay, so that is, clearly it seems like something that, in fact, what you're saying is, in hindsight, it's all going to be very clear to us as to why this is so important. Right now, we're kind of in the midst of it. Can you explain, it's somewhat easy to understand the idea that putting the control of personal information into the hands of the individual is the right thing to do and maybe the ethical thing to do, can it also be profitable?
Can it be profitable? Of course, yes, it can be profitable. But first of all, let's just say the identity that we're talking about here is not just identity for the individual. It is also identity for businesses or even for things.
Okay.
This is foundational because it enables businesses to increase the fidelity of the information for their best customers. It is profitable because they have an open channel of communication to their best customers. And if they had that open channel of communication, what would they say? What would they sell to their best customers? Would it simply be the same things that they're selling previously? Or would it be new products with that open, permissioned, programmable communication channel? What would they sell? So it is a new way of reaching these customers, a new direct channel to reach these customers. It's not just another customer information model. It's a new direct channel to your best customers, open and permissioned, that you can use, and that will be developed incrementally over time across all industries, not just travel. It just so happens that travel is a set of industries, or comprises a set of industries, which, in my view, and in the view of a number of many people in the travel technology community, is actually a fundamental beneficial set of industries for this technology, because what we have today actually doesn't work very well.
Right. So,
right?
Yeah, you had written a briefing for Phocuswright in which you said the internet was born without an identity layer. And therefore, the intermediaries have taken on the role of collecting and passing on that customer information. Why? Explain a bit more. That ties into what you were just saying about why that's a problem and how this decentralized model changes that dynamic.
Yeah. Well, if you're a travel provider, the one thing you want to know is, who is my customer? Who is about to walk through my door if you're a hotel? Who's about to step on my plane if you're an airline? And increasingly, you don't know who they are. You can't see them. You don't know who's coming towards you, because there's this black box in the middle, which is an intermediary. And the intermediaries over the last 20 years, I think we could all agree, have grown more powerful. But through that growth have, in many senses, obscured the arriving customer for the travel provider. But the flip side also is true. If you are a traveler and you want something specific in your travel experience, how do you communicate it? How do you communicate it effectively? What happens if your travel experiences crosses travel providers, which so much of the travel experience does? How do you communicate once, say once, and that information is carried to where you need it to go across travel providers, rather than having to communicate to each and every single one today? It's very hard and very frustrating for the travel provider and for the customer. And I'm not disparaging in any sense the intermediaries. I think they've done a great job at the web shop, or the providing choice for the customer. But at the same time, they have simply through their size and scale restricted the ability of the traveler to express who they are and what they want. Okay.
So you are leading the Decentralized Identity Foundation's Hospitality and Travel Special Interest Group. I know you often say you're the unofficial chair. You don't even like to use that title of chair, but you absolutely are leading that group. To help make some of this a bit more concrete, can you share? I know there are 6 use cases that have been developed. And by the way, that QR code we're going to put up at the end will have a link to this group that Nick leads that meets on Zoom once a week. It's open to anyone that wants to join. It's a great way to get up to speed on some of this. But can you share a bit about those 6 use cases and kind of what the next steps are?
Sure. Well, there are 6. We started with a view that our mission was to try and explain and interpret decentralized digital ID in the world of travel commerce, to understand how it could be applied to make things better. And in our world, that means being profitable and being effective business people. So we focused on 6 that explore new ways of making money and solving problems. The first one is a discount entitlement. Now, this may sound a little bit strange, but let me just try and explain what I mean here. So today, if you have a wallet full of plastic cards. Today, it's very difficult for you to be able to say, "Oh, I'm a member of a AAA club or this loyalty scheme or that loyalty scheme," and to convey that information, or "I'm a senior," and convey that information, and to do so in combination. Decentralized digital ID allows you to do that and to engage in that commercial interaction and provide quality information about your entitlements, such that you could receive back specific offers.
Okay.
So it's the ability to express exactly what you want. Second one was literally, "This is me and this is what I want." The ability to have a rich, accurate, singular, up-to-date customer profile, and to be able to share elements of that profile to the travel provider and say, "This is who I am and this is what I want."
Okay.
Rather than having to be able to share a complete profile, why would I need to? I might just simply say, "I'm a traveler who wants a single room," or "I want a room away from the elevator," or "I want an aisle seat on a plane," or whatever, or "I have particular disabilities that I don't want to tell you specifics about, but I just want to be able to communicate need." SSI and decentralized digital ID is absolutely on point for solving this problem, and it's very difficult to do today.
Okay.
It's very difficult to do today because much of that information you wouldn't want the travel provider to actually have and store, and neither would they want it, because it is increasingly toxic for them to keep and store this type of sensitive customer PII. We have another one called verified stay, and this unfolds in an interesting way. So imagine if you check out of a hotel, you receive a folio. What do you do with it? Well, today, nothing. But if you could accumulate that into a wallet, so that maybe I've traveled 50 times last year, and I could now walk into or engage in a conversation with a hotel company that I haven't traveled with, and I could say to them, "Look, I've actually stayed 50 times last year in competitor hotels. I'm not going to tell you who they are, but I can prove to you that I have. Now, what kind of discount would you give me, rather than just treating me as a one-time, only-time customer?"
Right.
That, I think, is huge for us. Fourth one was travel change and disruption. All of us have been stuck on planes that aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Recently, a lot. And wouldn't you like to be able to effectively and easily communicate downstream through your unfolding travel program, to be able to communicate that you're stuck in travel and you need to undo that hotel reservation or change that dinner appointment, and you're stuck on a plane, you can't use your phone, but if this can be done automatically for you by a digital agent accessing the information that you have in your control behind your digital identity, this is the future of travel for us. This is exactly what can happen and needs to happen, because this travel change, this disruption, this impact happens every day. And it's not just an impact for the individual, it's an impact for the travel provider, because the hotel or the restaurant could sell that space that they're now holding vacant.
Okay.
We have 2 more, which I'll briefly mention. Bag pickup and delivery, enabling you to separate the bags from the traveler. Maybe I send my bag from my home, and the next time I see it is in my hotel room. If I could do that and accurately track my bag, and I could manage the security concerns for that bag, that would be huge. That would be huge. No longer I'm arriving on a red eye and schlepping my bags around to my meeting. I just see my bags when I get to my hotel. That would be fantastic. And the last one is car rental. There's a whole world of opportunity there.
Okay. Just quickly, can you tell us which one do you see the most potential as far as now moving to the next step?
Well, I think all of them have potential, but I really particularly like the discounted title. I'll say three: discounted title, share profile elements, and verified state. I think all of those solidly commercial. All of those absolutely doable.
So give us a sense then, how do we get this to move to scale or to the next step? I mean, what are maybe some of the challenges? Where are the opportunities? How does this get led?
Well, awareness is one thing. I mean, just people being aware of what's actually happening. So we're in Europe right now. You're in Amsterdam. At this point in time, there is a European digital identity program underway, mandated through the European Commission, whereby at the end of next year, all citizens or residents in Europe will be able to request a digital ID, which will be foundationally provided through Decentralized Digital ID and SSI, because it has those requirements in order to provide the benefits that are stated. You will be able to request such an ID. It will give you a digital wallet. It will give you the capability to start collecting travel credentials and storing them in a digital wallet and using them. And in fact, travel is one of the foundational vertical use cases for this digital ID through Europe. So that's potentially up to 450 million travelers, if you think about it like that, the citizens of Europe, that will have this capability. Now, obviously, not all of them will have this by the end of next year, and it'll take years to roll out. But this is happening. So if you're in travel right now, and you're thinking, well, how do I contact my customer? And over the next 10 years, up to 400 plus million of your customers are able to have and use this technology for travel, amongst other uses. Well, wouldn't you want to be aware of it?
And this initiative that is developing through the EU, do you see that as potentially being a model for the rest of the world?
Yeah, it is. But I wouldn't like to suggest that Europe is alone here. There is so much that is actually happening in decentralized digital ID and SSI around the world. In Asia, Singapore, Korea, big capabilities, Japan as well. In North America, Canada, and the United States. There is right now a very interesting travel pilot happening called the Known Traveler Digital Identity. It's happening between airlines and airports, Schiphol and airports in Toronto. Okay. So it's happening everywhere, actually. So Europe is definitely, I wouldn't say ground zero, but it's very much benefiting from the support at the European level. But other governments are also lending support because they see this is a practical solution to a very real world problem, which is the growing inability for the individual to express themselves digitally through commerce. It's very difficult for the individual, whether they're a citizen or a customer, to express themselves to a government or to a supplier and have a reliable, permissioned, trusted and secure, rich interaction without using an intermediary, such as a Google or a Facebook, for identity purposes.
Right. So give us a sense, as we have a few minutes left here, where might we be in 5 years or 10 years? What type of time frame are we looking at?
Well, if you just take a look at the European identity, it is playing out now. So the foundational technologies are in play, in definition. They're approaching the commercial stage right now. So this is a timeline that I look at from 2023 to maybe the end of the decade, and a rapid take up. So if you compare this to browser HTTP, probably a good one to look at. So we're at 1993 now, okay, roughly, right? So, but where were we in 2000? Where were we in 99, 98, 99, 2000? Well, we were on the way. The early adopters were already there, right? I think we will get there quicker here because much of the other supporting technology is already in place. Okay. Right. So you couldn't use a browser very effectively in 1995 because the internet itself wasn't functioning well. But we have a functioning internet today. This is an overlay on top of that actually makes things work better for us. So I think we'll get there quicker, okay, and maybe 5, 6 years from now, this will be commonplace.
Okay, so as we're finishing up, Nick, I'm going to have them put the slide up, so you're going to disappear from our screen for just a moment in case anybody wants to scan that QR code. As they're doing that, can you maybe just share with us 1 or 2 concrete tips that you have for this audience that they could start doing related to this topic?
Well, participate. So understand where this is happening. If you now you're in Europe, you understand that Europe is doing something, then learn about it because it's everywhere. Your individual governments have their own digital IDs. Understand the technology underneath it. Understand how you get one, and start using it. That's number 1. Second thing is particularly relevant for customers. Nobody, I think, in travel should feel comfortable with the quality of their customer information as a travel provider. Nobody, if you're honest. So think that this is something that is going to help you as a travel provider speak to your customer more effectively. You will be able to receive and you will be able to send more effective information to your customers. But think about who those customers are, because now you do not have to treat all your customers the same. So if I'm positioning this technology for travel and hospitality right now, I would say, position it for the 5% of your customers who deliver 40% of your value, your best customers. Start thinking about it because you want to onboard those 5% as early as you possibly can, because you will unlock a rich, profitable, bidirectional communication with your best customers.
Okay, wonderful. Nick Price, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, and apologies again. I can't be with you.
Thank you.
Bye.